Remember that feeling when you opened your grandmother's kitchen door? That unmistakable scent of butter, sugar, and time itself seemed to hang in the air like a sweet memory waiting to be tasted. Today, we're diving into something that's slowly disappearing from Italian tables. The forgotten desserts that our nonnas used to make with such love and precision, recipes that are vanishing faster than we realize. If you love discovering the hidden treasures of Italian culinary heritage, subscribe to our channel and hit that bell icon so you never miss a journey into our delicious past. We need to talk about something that's been bothering me lately. Walk into any modern Italian pasticceria today, and what do you see? The same tiramisu, the same panna cotta, the same cannoli that have become the ambassadors of Italian desserts worldwide. Don't get me wrong, these are magnificent creations, but they've overshadowed dozens of regional sweets that our grandmothers made every Sunday, desserts that carried the stories of our families, our villages, our collective memory. These weren't just recipes written in faded notebooks with butter-stained pages. They were edible time capsules, each one connected to a specific moment in the Italian calendar, to a saint's day, to a harvest, to the rhythm of rural life that most of us have left behind. Let me take you back to a kitchen in rural Piedmont, circa 1955. My friend's grandmother, Nonna Teresa, would wake up at 4 in the morning every Saturday to prepare something called Bonet. Now, you might be asking yourself, what on earth is Bonet? It's a chocolate amaretti pudding that tastes like the beautiful child of a flan and a brownie, enriched with rum and crushed amaretti cookies. The name comes from the copper mold shaped like a hat, a bonnet in Piedmontese dialect that was used to cook it. But here's what makes me sad. Teresa was the last person in her village who knew how to make it properly. When she passed away in 2003, she took with her the exact proportions, the precise moment when the caramel reaches that perfect amber color, the secret of how long to let it rest before unmolding. Her daughter tried to recreate it from memory, but as she told me with tears in her eyes, it was never quite the same. This is happening all across Italy in every region, with desserts you've probably never even heard of. In Calabria, there's something called Scalille, these delicate fried pastries, shaped like little ladders, drizzled with honey and covered in colorful sprinkles. They were made exclusively for weddings, each cookie representing a step toward the couple's future together. But how many Calabrian weddings today feature Scalille? How many young brides even know they exist? In Le Marché, there was Frustingo, a dense Christmas cake made with dried figs, nuts, and grape must. Every family had their version, passed down through generations, and you could tell which part of the region someone came from by tasting their Frustingo. Today, maybe a handful of elderly women still make it, and when they're gone, will anyone remember? The story gets even more fascinating when you look at Emilia-Romagna. There's a dessert called Certosino, a medieval spiced cake that monks used to make in the Certosa monastery near Bologna. This wasn't just any cake. It contained no butter, no milk, no eggs, because the monks made it during fasting periods. Instead, it was held together by honey, grape must, and sheer faith, studded with candied fruits, almonds, pine nuts, and chocolate. The recipe was so complex, with such specific timing for adding each ingredient, that it took years of apprenticeship to master. Today, maybe 3 or 4 bakeries in all of Bologna still produce it, and even then, they use modern shortcuts that would make those medieval monks weep into their habits. But why are these desserts disappearing? It's not just about time or convenience. These recipes were born in a world that no longer exists. They required ingredients that came from your own land, the hazelnuts from your trees, the honey from your neighbor's hives, the grape must from your family's vineyard. They demanded time that modern life doesn't allow. Nonna could spend an entire afternoon rolling out paper-thin dough for her cebadas, those Sardinian pastries filled with pecorino cheese and drizzled with honey. She had nowhere else to be. She wasn't checking her phone or rushing to a meeting. The act of making the dessert was as important as eating it. It was meditation, tradition, and love rolled into one. And here's something we rarely discuss. These desserts were markers of social status and occasion. In Campania, there's something called migliaccio, a semolina cake flavored with orange and ricotta that was made exclusively for carnival. You didn't eat migliaccio in summer. You didn't make it for a random Tuesday. It belonged to Carnival, and that was that. This kind of ritual discipline has been lost in our world of instant gratification, where we can have any dessert, any time, delivered to our door in 30 minutes. The Abruzzese Parozzo, that almond and chocolate dome created in the early 20th century, was so special that it was reserved for the most important celebrations. Today, you can buy a factory-made version in any supermarket, and somehow in becoming accessible, it's lost its magic. Let's talk about something that hits close to home for many of us. In Sicily, there was a dessert called Biancomangiare, a delicate almond pudding that was almost ethereal in its lightness. It originated in the Arab period of Sicilian history, and for centuries it was the centerpiece of aristocratic tables. But unlike granita or cassata, which have survived and thrived, Biancomangiare has nearly vanished. Why? Because it required a level of delicacy and patience that doesn't translate well to commercial production. You couldn't make it in advance. You couldn't freeze it. You had to serve it within hours of preparation when it reached that perfect moment of being set, but still trembling on the plate like a sweet cloud. In our modern food system, such fragility is a fatal flaw. What breaks my heart is thinking about all the desserts we don't even know we've lost. The ones that disappeared before anyone thought to write them down, before food historians became interested, before we realized that grandmothers were walking libraries of culinary knowledge. How many villages had their own unique sweet that died with the last person who knew how to make it? How many flavor combinations, how many techniques, how many stories are simply gone forever? In Basilicata, in Molise, in the smallest towns of Umbria and Lazio, these losses are happening right now, today, while we scroll through our phones and order mass-produced pastries. But here's the thing that gives me hope. We're having this conversation. You're watching this video, which means you care. And caring is the first step toward preservation. All across Italy, small movements are emerging. Young chefs are seeking out elderly home cooks, recording their methods, documenting their recipes. Food anthropologists are racing against time to catalogue regional desserts before they vanish. Some regions have created registries of traditional foods, giving official recognition to these endangered sweets. It's not too late, but the window is closing fast. We need to understand that when we lose these desserts, we're not just losing recipes. We're losing the way sugar caramelizes in a copper pot that's been used for 70 years. We're losing the knowledge of which wild herbs to add to a custard to give it a flavor that can't be replicated with vanilla extract. We're losing the communal experience of making labor-intensive sweets together, the way entire families would gather to prepare hundreds of cookies for Christmas, each person with their assigned task talking and laughing and creating memories that tasted like almonds and honey. These forgotten desserts are love letters from our ancestors, written in flour and eggs and sugar. They're proof that our grandmothers were artists who worked in edible media, creating masterpieces that lasted only as long as it took to eat them. They understood something we've forgotten in our age of Instagram and food photography. The best moments are temporary, meant to be experienced fully and then released, living on only in memory and in the recipes we pass down. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to think about your Nonna's kitchen. What did she make that you haven't tasted in years? What dessert from your childhood has disappeared from family gatherings? Share your stories in the comments below, but even better, send us a detailed email through the address you'll find in the description. Tell us about your grandmother's forgotten dessert, share the story behind it, the memories attached to it, and if you have the recipe, send that too. The most compelling stories will become the heart of our upcoming videos, and you'll become part of preserving these sweet memories for future generations. This isn't just nostalgia. This is about recognizing that every time a traditional recipe disappears, we lose a thread that connects us to who we were, to where we came from, to the hands that fed us, and the love that sustained us. Next time, we're diving deep into one specific forgotten dessert, walking through its history, its meaning, and yes, the complete recipe, so you can recreate a piece of the past in your own kitchen. Until then, maybe call your Nonna or your mama, or that aunt who still cooks the old way. Ask her about the desserts her mother used to make. Record the conversation. These stories are more precious than we realize, and they're slipping away faster than sugar dissolves in warm milk.